Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our travel unit today, and it's our second day talking about the windy city of Chicago, Illinois. Maybe some of you have been there before. Maybe you'd like to go someday, but just haven't had the chance. And last time, of course, we talked a little bit about the history of Chicago. It was kind of all about that great Chicago fire, wasn't it?
Yeah, we talked about the fire and how it led to almost a complete rebuilding of the city. They probably built buildings and homes that were a lot better able to withstand fires, perhaps. They also had a lot of people that ended up homeless at that time, so it was a tough time in their history. We know also that 4 out of the 10 tallest buildings in the U.S. are all in Chicago, which is kind of shocking to me, I'll be honest. I didn't know that was true. I knew about the Sears Tower, which is now the Willis Tower, but I must confess I've never heard of the Aon Center. I'm one of those people who hasn't really spent any time in Chicago except at the airport, which is Chicago O'Hare, which is a big hub that you'll probably fly through if you want to go from the West Coast to the East Coast. It's a good place to stop and fuel up. We also talked about the shopping district, which is called the Magnificent Mile. It's got a lot of high-end stores. When we talk about high-end stores, you're talking about brands like Prada and, Gucci, things that cost a fortune that I probably will never buy in this lifetime. But it's fun to just walk in and look at what's available and pretend you have money so that you can look at the things that are on sale or laid out there for you. Today we're going to finish talking about Chicago and focus more on the art that you can see there, some of the museums, and my favorite part of any city is just focusing on the food. What are they famous for there in Chicago? They've got some great stuff to eat. Right now, though, we're going to read through today's lesson. Chicago also has lots to offer in terms of fine art. The Art Institute of Chicago is the city's leading museum, and it showcases a large collection of Impressionist paintings, as well as other styles. Each year, roughly 1.5 million visitors come to see iconic works by Picasso, Monet, and Van Gogh. Those with more interest in archaeology and science can head to the Field Museum of Natural History. Its vast collection contains almost 40 million fossils and many other artifacts. One of its main attractions is Sue, the world's largest and most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton. When you're tired of museums, check out one of the interesting performances that are always going on. Classical music fans can buy tickets to the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, one of the world's finest ensembles. Those in search of some laughs can visit Chicago's comedy clubs. The city has produced so many quick-witted comedians that it's now recognized as the home of improvisational comedy. No trip to Chicago would be complete without sampling the city's iconic dishes. Topping that list is deep dish pizza, which features a thick crust, tomato sauce, mountains of cheese, and lots of toppings. The Chicago hot dog is also world famous. It begins with a jumbo beef hot dog served in a poppy seed bun. Then, the hot dog is smothered in tomatoes, hot peppers, onions, a pickle, mustard, and celery salt. But no ketchup. If there's still room in your stomach, try an Italian beef sandwich. The juices from the slow-cooked roast moisten up the bread, making it melt in your mouth. Like many other things in the Windy City, it will blow you away.
Okay, everybody, it's time for us to discuss the contents of today's lesson. We're having a wonderful day in the Windy City. We talked about the architecture last time, but today we're going to talk about the fine arts of Chicago, and later on we'll talk about some of the food available in Chicago. So here we go. In the first paragraph, it says, Chicago also has lots to offer in terms of fine art. So it has lots of these things to check out. if you are considering fine art. In terms of just means when you think about or when considering fine art. Maybe that's what you like when you go to a city. Gee, I want to check out the art scene here. Are there any galleries? Are there any museums where I can see some really famous paintings and things like that? Well, Chicago has lots to offer when you talk about fine art. Let's talk about the first example here. The Art Institute of Chicago is the city's leading museum, and it showcases a large collection of Impressionist paintings as well as other styles. So that's the big museum in Chicago there, the Art Institute of Chicago. Of course, if you're in New York, you want to go to the MoMA, Museum of Modern Art, or the Metropolitan Museum of Art. But if you're in Chicago, you want to go to the Art Institute of Chicago. It's got some great paintings there.
Yeah, I wanted to point out that our author used city's leading museum. Remember in day one, we talked about the premier shopping district. You could substitute leading with premier here. So it's the best museum in Chicago, you could say. And it showcases the kind of art or painting that I really like, and that's Impressionist paintings. I love that style. It's very soft and warm, and I just love it. Anyway, each year they've got a lot of visitors who go and see those works of art. Roughly 1.5 million visitors go to see those iconic works by Picasso, Monet, and Van Gogh. I wanted to mention briefly, Van Gogh is the American English way to pronounce this name. But if you're actually pronouncing it the way the Dutch would, they say Van Gogh, which is interesting. It's so different from the English. But if you say Van Gogh, everyone will understand. But yeah, Van Gogh. That would be one of the first places I would go because I love Impressionist paintings. Another great place for that would be Paris. They've got a lot of Impressionist paintings. Now, if it's iconic, it represents just some of the best of the best. So if something is an iconic work, it represents the best of some of these artists like Picasso, Monet, Van Gogh, who were very well known for their art. So that's one place you want to go and check out. You could say that somebody is an iconic singer or actress. I would say that Madonna is very iconic. She represents, for me, at least the 80s, kind of the early 90s, although she's still singing. I don't think she's representing the current style of music too much. So that's one place you want to stop by is the Art Institute of Chicago.
Right, so those would be works that you probably recognize. So if you see that painting, you would go, oh, yes, that's a Picasso, that's a Monet, that's a Van Gogh. That's what we mean by iconic, sort of representative of those artists. And those with more interest in archaeology and science can head to the Field Museum of Natural History. So if you're not so much into art and you're more interested in archaeology or science, well, you can go to the Field Museum of Natural History. So archaeology, of course, is the study of civilization as it comes out of the ground, when they dig things out of the ground and stuff like that, old pots or whatever, old structures or something. And if you're also interested in science and not so much in art, then this is another famous museum to check out, the Field Museum of Natural History. Of course, there's a Natural History Museum in New York, which of course is very famous, but the one in Chicago is pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, so if you were really into dinosaurs, I bet you already know this about Chicago and their Natural History Museum. They've got Sue, they actually gave her a name, who's one of the world's largest and most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex skeletons in the world. So that might be a place for you to go. If you talk about fossils, guys, you're talking about old plants or animals that have died and left behind the remains in rock. So they're preserved in kind of a rock form. Those are fossils. An artifact we use a lot if we're talking about archaeologists who dig, beneath the dirt, objects that existed long ago with different civilizations. It's any sort of object made by a human being that has cultural or historical interest to the scientists or archaeologists who discover it. It could be a pot, as Tom said, or it could be a sword. It could be lots of different things that existed in previous civilizations.
Right, and the key there is things that are made by human beings. So yes, you'll have artifacts there, but the fossils would have more to do with the dinosaurs there. And if you're into the Tyrannosaurus Rex, that big fierce dinosaur that was such a big star in Jurassic Park, well, you can see Sue there. Of course, that's a reassembled skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, sometimes simply shortened to T-Rex, which is quite impressive if you're into dinosaur fossils. Moving on to the next paragraph here, it says, when you're tired of museums, check out one of the interesting performances that are always going on. So now we're moving from museums to performing arts, and of course there are lots of things to see and do in terms of those performing arts.
Yeah, they've got a really great symphony orchestra there right in the city of Chicago. When a city's really big, you usually have more choices of people to fill positions, so you're going to get a bigger quantity of talented people, you could say. We're going to talk about the Chicago Symphony Orchestra when we get back from this break.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. 今天我们要继续来看这篇文章。我们要谈一个美丽的城市 Chicago， 它的别名叫 The Windy City。我们上次说到了 Chicago 今天之所以这么的美，它的建筑其实是大火之后重生的结果。那我们今天呢，重点就要放在别的方面。在历史方面说完了，接下来要谈的是它有什么好玩可以看的呢？首先就提艺术方面，提到 art、fine art 美术方面，这里有一个片语 in terms of fine art， 意思就是谈到美术这边呢，有很多东西你可以在 Chicago 里面欣赏得到。这边提供给大家的建议有一个是芝加哥艺术博物馆。当然这是 Chicago 这里的一个顶尖博物馆。在这里你可以看到不同的画作，像是印象派的画作，还有其他风格。好，我们知道 Impressionist 当然是指印象派画风的这一些画家的作品。那这边当然很多观光客都会来，会看到一些代表性的作品。什么叫代表性的作品？这里有一个字 iconic。那 icon 这个字它其实用作形容词 iconic， 那就表示是指标性的，是一看你就知道它是很有名的。好，这一边的 iconic works 指的像是毕卡索的作品，像 Monet 像 Van Gogh， 这些大家都知道。接下来他还说了，如果你是不想看艺术作品，那这边还建议你去看他的 Field Museum of Natural History， 那就是一个自然历史博物馆。当然到自然历史博物馆看的，那可能就是化石咯。提到有一个最有名的，那就是 Sue， 这可不是一个女孩子，这其实是一只暴龙，那可以看到它的骨架在这里。接下来还不喜欢看博物馆，也不喜欢看艺术作品，这边说你可以去听音乐。所以谈到 entertainment， 当然它的选择一个就是去观赏芝加哥交响乐团。我们知道 orchestra 这个字指的就是管弦乐团。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about the wonderful, windy city of Chicago. When we left you, we had been talking about museums that you could go and see different things. Maybe you're into painting and you love artists that paint. You might want to check out the Art Institute of Chicago. That's the city's best museum, at least for artwork. It has a large collection or group of impressionistic paintings, which is fun. And they've got other styles there as well. They also have a science and archaeology museum that might be more interesting to you if you like that sort of thing, called the Field Museum of Natural History. They've got a lot of fossils and other artifacts that archaeologists have dug up from the ground. I think the one thing that would be interesting to not only adults, but the kids would be the fact that they have Sue on display. Sue is a Tyrannosaurus rex, at least the skeleton part of this dinosaur that they've put together the bones and kind of let you see how big that T-Rex was when she was alive and on Earth. That's kind of fun to see. I still can't believe how big some of these dinosaurs are when I go to natural history museums and look at the bones. They look pretty scary, and I'm glad they're not around anymore.
Me too, and of course, those are just a couple of museums there. There are many other ones in Chicago. There's, of course, the Museum of Science and Industry, the Adler Planetarium, the Museum of Contemporary Art. The list goes on and on. Lots of things to check out if you're into museums. But if you get tired of museums, and they can be quite tiring with all of the things to see, you can check out one of the interesting performances that are always going on. If you're into classical music, you know, with orchestras and string quartets and stuff like that, classical music fans can buy tickets to the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, one of the world's finest ensembles. And indeed, I've got a number of CDs by the Chicago Symphony Orchestra performing Beethoven symphonies, directed by, is it that Schulte guy? I think that's his name. He was the director there at one time. So if you're into that, you might even get to see a live performance of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. So that's, of course, something you should check out if you're into performing arts. What else can we expect to see there in Chicago?
Well, Chicago's really famous for improv, or comedians who stand up on stage and kind of improvise, which means they don't have lines they've memorized. Sometimes they're given keywords and they turn it into a funny skit. Or maybe the audience yells up something and they go off what the audience has suggested. So improv is very, very big in Chicago. Some of today's famous comedians started in Chicago, actually. Stephen Colbert, who is on TV, he's one of the late night hosts. He did a lot of improv. Steve Carell also did a lot of improv. It's a fun place to go if you love stand-up comedy. I could never do that. So this sentence says, in search of, if you're in search of something, you're looking for it. And different people like to do different things on their holidays, of course. So if you like to just support comedians or you like to laugh a lot, you might want to visit Chicago's comedy clubs. Most of the comedy clubs are quite small, but they do have some famous ones, and it might be harder to get into those. But that's a lot of fun to do. So in search of just means you're looking for something. Sometimes on Saturday, I go in search of something delicious to eat that I've never tasted or tried before. It's kind of a fun thing to do on the weekend.
Indeed. So if you're looking for some laughs, to see some funny comedians, then check out the comedy clubs in Chicago. Check your local listings or on the internet. You're probably going to find some kind of show you can go check out. And these comedians are quick-witted. They come up with jokes really fast, and they probably comment on society, make fun of politicians and things like that. It's probably something you should only see if your English is good enough. Otherwise, you might sit there lost, like I was when I first went to a xiangsheng performance here in Taipei. I could only understand about 1/3 of what they were saying.
Yeah, really.
But in any case, here, we'll move on now to the next paragraph here. It says, no trip to Chicago would be complete without sampling the city's iconic dishes. So now we're getting to food, and dish here could refer to the actual thing you eat off of, a plate, a dish. But when we talk about a type of food, we can say dish, like a spaghetti is my favorite dish. It's the thing I like to eat the most. So yes, you could sample or try some of the iconic dishes. In other words, the food that is from Chicago, it came from Chicago, and you may only find it there.
Yeah, there's kind of a big competition between New Yorkers and their pizza and Chicagoans and their pizza. New York pizza is very thin crust and it doesn't have a lot of toppings. It's pretty plain, I would say, you know. They don't put a lot of stuff on their pizzas, unlike Domino's and what's the other one? Pizza Hut here.
Yep.
If you sample something, you're just taking a little bit just to see if you like it. There's a lot of sampling that goes on in grocery stores in Taiwan. You know, those ladies or men who stand at the end of aisles and give you a little taste or drink of something. They're sampling. You're sampling those things so that maybe you might turn around and buy whatever they're selling. Now, the Chicago pizza is very different. It's called deep dish pizza. And you don't even have to say deep dish. If you say Chicago pizza, everyone knows. Deep dish means the crust is really thick, and they cook it in a pie pan rather than a flat surface. And there's lots of tomato sauce, lots of cheese, and tons of toppings on the deep dish pizza. I do like Uno. It's a chain restaurant that serves Chicago-style pizza. I think Uno's is good. You'll see it if you go to the U.S. There's an Uno in most cities.
Okay.
But I like both types of pizza. Do you have a favorite, Tom?
It depends. I tend to like the thin kind of crispy crust as opposed to the deep dish. But every once in a while, deep dish pizza hits the spot. It's just what the doctor ordered. So this is an iconic dish from Chicago with its thick crust, lots of tomato sauce, mountains of cheese, lots of cheese, and lots of toppings, of course, like mushrooms and green peppers, onions, whatever. And that's one dish you can enjoy in Chicago. The Chicago hot dog is also world famous. A hot dog, of course, is a rugo, as you say in Chinese. And if you go to Chicago, you might think, well, isn't a hot dog kind of like a snack that you eat at the ballpark or something? But you could actually make it into a meal if you go to Chicago. There are lots of famous restaurants there that serve Chicago hot dogs.
Oh, yeah. They sound good. So how do they make a Chicago hot dog? It has specific toppings that go on that hot dog. First of all, that hot dog needs to be a beef hot dog. Some of the hot dogs for sale are kind of a mixture of just leftover parts of the pig or leftover parts of a cow. But if you're getting a really good hot dog, it's pure beef and it's good meat. Jumbo means really big. So you're getting a very thick, big hot dog, and it's served in a poppy seed bun. If you've been to McDonald's, you've probably noticed those seeds that go on the top of the bun. Those are sesame seeds, but a poppy seed is sort of similar to that. So it goes in a particular style of bun. And then that hot dog is smothered in tomatoes, hot peppers, onions, pickle, mustard, celery salt. And notice you can't put ketchup on Chicago hot dog. That's against the rules. If you smother something, you cover it almost completely. Now, we can use this word to talk about killing someone. If someone is smothered to death, it means somebody took something like a pillow and put it over their face and prevented them from taking an air or breathing. They were smothered to death. A hot dog is smothered if you cover it almost completely in these toppings, which sounds quite delicious.
It does. Or if you go overseas for many months and you come back home, your mother will smother you with kisses. Will kiss you all over your face. Oh, Sonny, you're back home. We missed you so much. But here, of course, the hot dog is covered completely with tomatoes and other ingredients. And there's no ketchup there, so don't do that. And if there's still room in your stomach, try an Italian beef sandwich. That's another thing you can try. Beef made the Italian style. The juices from this slow-cooked roast moisten up the bread, making it melt in your mouth. So we're calling this roast here. It's a kind of meat that is cooked slowly. That's what roast is. So it's slow cooked at a low temperature. And this will also moisten up the bread. Moisten just means to make something have more moisture or more water in it.
Yeah, it sounds like a beef sandwich that comes along with the side of juice that's called au jus, which is French, A-U, and then J-U-S, au jus. That's really delicious, and you just kind of dip your sandwich in it. Sounds like a great sandwich. I'm really hungry right now, too. You can moisten your lips, ladies, if you just lick them. Moisten an envelope if you want to close it. Actually, the envelopes here don't have that glue that sticks the envelope closed because it's too humid here. Now, if something melts, it's a solid form and then changes form to become like a liquid. An ice cube will melt in your drink after it's been there a while. It's no longer a solid cube or a piece of ice. It turns into water. So a lot of things can melt. So this sounds pretty delicious. Like many other things in the Windy City, it will blow you away. our author here, Jamie Blackler, is being kind of fun because we're talking about the windy city where the wind blows very hard. But this phrase, if something blows you away, is so great you can't believe how wonderful it is. Or maybe you're shocked to see someone that you haven't seen in a while and they've completely transformed their look. Maybe they lost a lot of weight and they look really hot and they kind of blow you away. You didn't expect to see what you saw. So there are a lot of things that can blow you away if it surprises you or really shocks you.
Yeah, like the last time I saw Jeremy Lin play basketball, it blew me away. He is so good. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Let's now listen to our Chinese teacher.
OK, 我们继续来看到 Chicago 来可以做什么呢？提到了美术馆可以去，自然历史博物馆可以去听音乐，那还有没有别的呢？接下来这边就提到 Those in search of some laughs can visit Chicago's comedy clubs. 我们看到这个句构 Those 这个字其实它是一种指示代名词，但是呢当指示代名词的时候，如果像放在这样的位置当主词，其实它也可以把结构上把它加几个字，像这边就是 those who are in search of some laughs， 也就是说是指想找一点笑声的人，去找个地方开怀大笑的人，那你可以去 Chicago 这里的喜剧俱乐部。注意到 in search of， 其实这个介系词片语基本上当然是用来修饰 those， 可是你把它转化成为一个关系子句 those who are in search of some laughs， 这样的结构就更清楚了。好，那再来呢，到这边来，我们知道 Chicago 这里基本上它有很多的 quick-witted comedians。我们知道 comedians 是喜剧演员，而说一个人很机智的用的这个复合形容词就是 quick-witted。注意到 wit 这个字啊，其实它是名词，但是我们也晓得英文的复合形容词里面有一个情况，就是把名词当作是像动词一样可以改成过去分词，所以你看到 wit、ted 像这样子的用法其实蛮常见的。好 quick-witted机智的。再来，现在我们提到了在 Chicago 的 entertainment 方面，最后不要忘记在 Chicago 可以吃到好吃的东西，所以呢不妨去尝一尝这里的代表性特色。那这句话也很特别，它用到的结构 No trip to Chicago would be complete without sampling the city's iconic dishes. 好，我们看看结构上，我们知道数学上有所谓的负负得正，在英文里面也是一样，当你把两个否定放在一起，那就变成完全是正面的表述了。所以说，如果你说 no trip to， 也就是不去做这件事，就不算到了芝加哥，意思就是你一定得做这件事才算到过芝加哥。那要做的这件事就是 sampling 这个动词，表示尝一尝这里的代表性的菜色。那这边当然提供给大家一些参考，一个叫做 deep dish pizza 深盘的 pizza， 好，还有一个叫做The Chicago hot dog， 也就是芝加哥热狗。然后呢，这也蛮特别的，因为它提到里面是一个 jumbo beef hot dog， 那 jumbo 就表示是特大号的。最后一个叫做 Italian beef sandwich， 那是意大利牛肉三明治。说到这里，大家应该会想去玩一玩 Chicago， 来真正看看这个城市的美跟好。好，我们今天讲解就到这边结束，谢谢您。
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us and enjoy your trip to Chicago if you ever go. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.